Friends, gather round, for today's tale whisks us away to the heart of Shandong, China, a land steeped in history and veiled in mystique. Our story unfolds amidst the intricate dance of past grievances and present betrayals, a web so tangled it left even the most seasoned police investigators utterly perplexed. So, lean in close, pay meticulous attention, and prepare to unravel a truly enigmatic saga that flows as turbulently as the mighty Yellow River itself. Ah, the Yellow River. China's mother river, they call it, the very cradle of an ancient civilization. Stretching an astounding 5,464 kilometers, it begins its epic journey in the Kunlun Mountains of Qinghai Province, weaving through 9 provinces and cities before gracefully emptying into the Bohai Sea, past the picturesque city of Jinan, the capital of Shandong. Where the river embraces the sea in Jinan, the scenery is a breathtaking masterpiece, a poetic painting brought to life. Small wonder then, that throngs of locals and tourists alike flock here daily, drawn by the irresistible allure of nature's artistry. Among these admirers was a man named Ni Ka, a resident of Jiang District, Jinan. For over a decade, it had been his unwavering ritual to drive to the Yellow River's edge every afternoon, regardless of the weather's whims. Rain or shine, bitter cold or gentle breeze, his devotion to this scenic vista never wavered. The afternoon of June 15, 2012, was no different. It was early summer, a day that promised warmth, but near the riverbank, a cooling eastern breeze carried the refreshing scent of water, making the air surprisingly pleasant. Around 4 p.m., as Ni Ka lost himself in the serene beauty, his gaze drifted to something unusual bobbing near the river's edge. Curiosity turned to horror as he drew closer. A half-submerged body, its stiff arms reaching out as if grasping for salvation, swayed with the gentle ripples. A scream tore from Ni Ka's throat, and he fled as if pursued by a demon. His terrified cries quickly drew a crowd, and soon, calls flooded the emergency hotline of the Jinan City Public Security Bureau. Within 10 minutes, the police were on the scene, documenting the grim discovery and initiating their investigation. The victim, a man around 1.80 meters tall, was clad in a blue short-sleeved shirt and shorts, his feet bare. His body bore the horrific marks of violence, 21 deep stab wounds, concentrated primarily on his chest, abdomen, and back. This was no suicide, this was murder, a cold-blooded act followed by the callous disposal of a body. The forensic report from Jinan City offered a chillingly detailed account of the body's state. Hair and fingernails were already decomposing, detaching with the slightest touch. The scalp and flesh had separated from the skull and skeletal frame. Internal organs were in an advanced state of putrefaction, and the victim's eyeballs were missing, not found at the scene. Even the ears were severely damaged, likely consumed by fish or other aquatic creatures. Crucially, the forensics team determined that the victim had died before being thrown into the water. There were no signs of drowning in his bronchi, nor any foreign objects lodged deep within. A small amount of water was found in his stomach, likely ingested after death. Had he been alive and struggling in the water, his stomach would have been distended with a significant amount of swallowed river water. Despite the advanced decomposition, certain areas of the skin, such as fingertips, toes, palms, soles, nipples, and genitals, remained intact and elastic, suggesting the body had been in the water for approximately 5 days. This grim timeline placed the murder around June 10, 2012. After the autopsy, the Jinan City Police meticulously preserved the victim's DNA samples and captured detailed photographs of his body parts. Recognizable features, still somewhat preserved, were carefully noted. Due to the severe decomposition, the body could not be stored in the morgue and was instead laid to rest in the city cemetery. Identifying the victim proved challenging as no personal effects were found. Following legal protocol, a public appeal for information was broadcast across various media outlets, while detectives scoured the area for any clues. Days turned into a week, yet the leads remained elusive. Then, on June 19, 2012, a young woman, barely in her 20s, appeared at the city police station. Distraught and sobbing, she clutched a morning newspaper, her voice trembling as she spoke of the body found in the Yellow River. She explained that her uncle had left home about a month prior and hadn't been heard from since. He was a tall, middle-aged man who wore a blue shirt. That morning, while buying sticky rice, she had inadvertently read a news report on the newspaper used to wrap her food. It described a male body found in the Yellow River, wearing a blue shirt, with a large mole on his back, approximately 1.80 meters tall and weighing 80 kilograms. Her blood ran cold. The description chillingly matched her missing uncle. Before coming to the station, she had frantically searched every newsstand, finally finding an intact copy of the paper to verify the details. Despite a desperate hope it was mere coincidence, every identifying characteristic aligned with her uncle, intensifying her dread over his prolonged absence. The police, listening to her harrowing account, immediately suspected a match. To confirm, they cross-referenced the victim's DNA with that of the young woman's family. The results were conclusive. The body was indeed her uncle. The victim was identified as Tran Con Noi, born in 1980, a permanent resident of Hatrait Commune, Shandong Province. Before his death, Con Noi managed the cafeteria at a school in Jiang District, Jinan City. Investigators learned from cafeteria staff that on the evening of June 10, 2012, Con Noi and his employees had been enjoying a celebratory dinner and drinks. Suddenly, Con Noi received a text message. His face contorted in anger, he smashed his wine glass and stormed out. Everyone present was bewildered. Those seated nearby had glimpsed his phone screen, seeing a message about a kitchen employee, Ho Hongjiung, the head chef, wanting to resign. It was presumed Con Noi had gone to persuade Hongjiung to stay. This new lead instantly put Ho Hongjiung under suspicion. Adding to the police's concern, Hongjiung had mysteriously vanished after Con Noi's disappearance. Colleagues, believing Hongjiung was the last person to see Con Noi alive, tried to contact him, but his phone rang unanswered, though it wasn't off. A background check revealed Hongjiung's criminal past, 2 prior convictions for robbery and theft. The possibility of his involvement in Con Noi's murder loomed large. Using clues from Hongjiung's former colleagues, the police obtained his current phone number. Intriguingly, his phone still rang, but he never picked up. It seemed he was using it solely for 3G internet access, perhaps fearing calls would expose his hiding place. In 2012, 3G technology in China was burgeoning, widely embraced by the youth for streaming and music. The police swiftly dispatched an urgent request to Jinan Mobile Communications Company, asking them to pinpoint Hongjiung's location using 3G GPS. This, however, required judicial approval due to citizen privacy laws enshrined in the Constitution. Once the necessary permissions were granted, Jinan Mobile collaborated with the police. Through test calls to his number, they confirmed Hongjiung's phone was connected to a BTS tower in Shanghai District, Jinan. The tower's signal had a 500-meter radius within the urban area. This initial breakthrough confirmed Hongjiung was still in the city, likely hiding within Shanghai District. The investigation pressed on. Further GPS tracking via 3G, registered to Hongjiung, yielded remarkably precise results. The telecom company provided the police with exact coordinates, including latitude and longitude. Surprisingly, the location was a school, clearly identifiable within the 500-meter radius in Shanghai District. Plainclothes officers were immediately dispatched to the school. Their reconnaissance revealed Hongjiung was living and working in the cafeteria of Shanghai Middle School. He had been there for about 10 days, having used forged documents to secure the job, and hadn't left the premises since. The situation was delicate, a school environment is sensitive, and Hong Jung's criminal record suggested he could be impulsive and dangerous. A direct summons to the police station for questioning was out of the question. A meticulously planned arrest was needed, one that would ensure the safety of the school and its students. On the evening of June 20th, after the students had departed, Hong Jung lingered in the cafeteria, browsed the web and listening to music on his phone. Suddenly, his phone rang, a long, unfamiliar number. Annoyed, Hong Jung waited for it to stop, then returned to his screen. Moments later, the phone rang again, persistently. His patience snapped. Muttering curses, he slammed the phone down and began to rise. But before he could move, a hand, firm as steel, pinned his hand to the table. Simultaneously, two plainclothes officers seized his shoulders, pulling him back, giving him no chance to resist. Hong Jung was apprehended in an instant and taken to the Jinan City Public Security Bureau for interrogation. To the investigators' surprise, Hong Jung displayed no fear or trepidation. His demeanor was calm, almost cheerful. He quickly confessed to the murder of Tran Con Loi. Perhaps, the police mused, this was the hardened composure of a man familiar with the inside of a prison cell. According to Hong Jung's confession, on the evening of June 10, 2012, at 8 p.m., he took a taxi to the Yellow River Market, near the riverbank, and texted Tran Con Loi, inviting him to meet. Around 9 p.m., Con Loi arrived. The moment he saw Hong Jung, Con Loi lunged, raining blows upon him. Hong Jung, caught off guard, could only cower and beg for mercy. As the relentless assault continued, Hong Jung's mind flashed back to a previous encounter when Con Loi had threatened him. The night before the murder, Hong Jung had invited Con Loi for a private drink, intending to discuss a raise. The work was grueling, especially cooking in the sweltering heat, and his meager salary was unbearable. Hong Jung told his boss that if his salary wasn't increased, he would quit. However, Con Loi was unyielding, dismissing the request. He accused Hong Jung of laziness, claiming he wasn't working to his full potential. Con Loi asserted that for more pay, Hong Jung needed to work harder, threatening him with consequences if he dared to resign. But Hong Jung was not one to be easily intimidated. His past incarcerations had forged a violent and vengeful personality. Anyone who stood in his way or threatened him would face his wrath. After Con Loi's remarks, Hong Jung feigned a smile, promising to work harder and abandon his lazy habits. Yet, in his mind, dark intentions towards Con Loi were already festering. After the drink, he returned to the school, determined to plot Con Loi's demise. Hong Jung confessed that on the night of June 10, he had armed himself with a knife and intentionally sent a provocative text message to lure Con Loi to the meeting. Just as he planned, Con Loi attacked him upon arrival. When Con Loi was momentarily distracted, Hong Jung seized the opportunity, stabbed him to death, and then pushed the body into the river. Hong Jung's confession, at first glance, seemed plausible, aligning with the police's initial suspicions. However, veteran investigators sensed a deeper truth. Their earlier inquiries revealed that Tran Con Loi was not Hong Jung's true boss. The school cafeteria was multifaceted, encompassing a dining hall, snack bar, and coffee and beverage sections. While Con Loi was the contracted manager of the dining hall, his position was merely that of a manager. His investment was small, and others held larger shares. If Hong Jung genuinely felt underpaid and couldn't reach an agreement with Con Loi, he could have easily escalated the matter to higher management or simply resigned and found another job. China's vast population meant an abundance of unskilled labor, making Con Loi's desperate attempts to retain Hong Jung, even through threats, highly questionable. Therefore, Hong Jung's stated motive for murder seemed illogical. To kill someone merely for threatening his resignation was difficult to accept. Moreover, having just been released from prison, even with his violent tendencies, Hong Jung wouldn't easily resort to murder for such trivial reasons. Was he, perhaps, seeking a return to his home in prison? The Jinan police, employing seasoned interrogation techniques, pressed Hong Jung further. His elaborate fabricated story indicated a sophisticated capacity for deception. But the investigators were not easily fooled. Their relentless questioning eventually broke him, and Hong Jung confessed the complete truth behind the murder. The truth was far more sinister. On the night of June 10, when Hong Jung murdered Trong Con Loi, a woman silently observed the horrific act. Her name was Trong Ne-ha, 36 years old, also residing in Jinan. Ne-ha was, in fact, the majority shareholder of the school cafeteria where Con Loi worked. She was the true manager of both Trong Con Loi and Hong Jung. And, chillingly, Trong Ne-ha had played a significant role in the plot to murder Trong Con Loi. It was Trong Ne-ha who had driven Con Loi to the riverbank to meet Hong Jung. Their initial intention, she claimed, was merely to teach Con Loi a lesson. But what lay beneath this facade? What deep-seated animosity connected these two seemingly disparate individuals, driving them to such a brutal act? The police wasted no time in apprehending Trong Ne-ha for questioning. Ne-ha had believed that Hong Jung's arrest and confession would shield her from justice. She continued her work at the cafeteria, seemingly unconcerned, as if nothing had happened. But she had underestimated the astute investigators, who were relentlessly uncovering every dark corner of the case. According to Trong Ne-ha's testimony, she viewed Trong Con Loi as nothing less than a wolf in sheep's clothing, a shameless rogue and hooligan. She had previously managed the school cafeteria, but due to financial difficulties, she had sold some shares to Trong Con Loi. However, the school's strict regulations demanded specialized professional qualifications for cafeteria managers. Despite selling her shares, Trong Ne-ha retained her managerial role over Con Loi, as he lacked the necessary permits for food preparation in educational institutions. Ne-ha claimed that from 2009, Trong Con Loi had begun to pursue her. Having experienced a failed marriage, she desired to remain single and had no interest in a new relationship. More importantly, she knew Con Loi was married with children and still legally bound. Starting a relationship with a married man was abhorrent to her, feeling it would be disrespectful to women. With her self-respect intact, she refused to entertain any feelings for a married man. Yet, despite her firm rejections, Con Loi persisted. Then, in early 2012, Hong Jung began working in the school kitchen, and Ne-ha found herself drawn to him. Their interactions became increasingly intimate and ambiguous. One day, while they were secretly together in the school kitchen, Trong Con Loi stumbled upon them. Con Loi was enraged, but instead of confronting them directly, he began a campaign of silent slander against Trong Ne-ha. He dared not provoke Hong Jung, knowing his violent past and recent release from prison. Furthermore, Hong Jung was cheap labor, and Con Loi had allowed him to use forged documents to conceal his criminal record. If this were discovered, Con Loi would also face severe repercussions. Con Loi began spreading rumors that Trong Ne-ha was his puppet, even fabricating stories that she had actively pursued him and begged to be his lover. When these malicious rumors reached Ne-ha, she was furious. However, she dared not escalate the matter, fearing Con Loi would expose her illicit relationship with Hong Jung. In an attempt to de-escalate, Ne-ha confronted Con Loi, imploring him to cease his erratic behavior and abandon his pursuit of her. But Con Loi remained stubborn, refusing to compromise. The situation reached its breaking point one evening in early May 2012. Con Loi arranged to meet Ne-ha in the deserted schoolyard, claiming he wanted to sincerely apologize for everything that had happened. Believing he genuinely wished for a peaceful resolution, Neha arrived at the rendezvous with a hopeful heart. To her horror, the moment they met, Conloy seized her, covered her mouth, and dragged her into the campus bushes, attempting to rape her. But Neha was no easy victim. With surprising strength, she fought back fiercely. As Conloy bent over her, Neha unexpectedly kicked him squarely in the face, sending him reeling backward. Seizing the opportunity, she scrambled to her feet, breaking free. In the struggle, the rope he had used also slipped from her hand. Without hesitation, Neha delivered a forceful kick to Conloy's groin before fleeing towards the cafeteria. Though she desperately wanted to call the police, Neha was paralyzed by fear. She dreaded that Conloy would expose her affair with Ho Hongdyung. So, she remained silent, but a smoldering resentment festered within her. She told herself that if Conloy dared such an outrageous act, there was nothing he wouldn't do. With no other recourse, a distraught Neha confided everything to Ho Hongdyung, her younger lover, pleading with him to seek revenge. Upon hearing of his sugar mommy's humiliation, Ho Hongdyung erupted in a fit of rage. His blood boiled. He embraced Neha, comforting her and vowing to teach Conloy a lesson he would never forget. On June 8, 2012, they met at the Yellow River's edge to plan their sinister act, choosing the execution site. As if to further cement Hongdyung's resolve, that evening, Neha and he rented a hotel room, spending the night together. The next morning, June 9, Neha sent a deceptive text message to Conloy, claiming that Ho Hongdyung, her chef, was dissatisfied and wanted to quit. She suggested Conloy meet with him to persuade him to stay. Lured by her sweet words, Conloy immediately agreed. He then took the initiative to invite Ho Hongdyung to the school cafeteria for drinks with himself and Neha. During their drinking session, alcohol loosened tongues, and words became more reckless. With Neha present, Conloy brazenly threatened Ho Hongdyung. He even held a liquor bottle to Hongdyung's face, declaring that if he didn't obey and still resigned, he would come to his house and butcher him. However, Ho Hongdyung was not easily bullied. He stormed into the kitchen, grabbed a large knife, intending to strike then and there. Thankfully, Neha intervened just in time, whispering a reminder to stick to their prearranged plan. The following day, June 10, was the day of the murder. Neha texted Conloy, saying she had persuaded Ho Hongdyung to stay and invited both of them to a reconciliation dinner. However, she stipulated that Conloy should come alone. Despite being busy drinking with his staff, Conloy immediately agreed upon receiving the message. But then Neha sent another message, cautioning him that Ho Hongdyung was a cunning and vengeful person. Though he had outwardly agreed to stay, deep down, he still harbored thoughts of revenge against Conloy. Therefore, she advised him to be cautious. Receiving this message, Conloy flew into a rage, smashing glasses on the table before storming out of the school gates without a word. Outside, Neha was already waiting in her car. When Conloy got in, she drove straight to the Yellow River bank, where Ho Hongdyung was waiting. The moment they met, a furious argument erupted. In the midst of their heated exchange, Ho Hongdyung suddenly pulled out the knife he had prepared, stabbing Conloy over 20 times in a deadly frenzy. Conloy collapsed to the ground, taking his last breath on the spot. After the gruesome act, Ho Hongdyung and Neha worked together to dispose of the body in the Yellow River, attempting to conceal their heinous crime. Neha later told investigators that she acted out of desperation, driven to the brink, seeking only to protect her honor, not out of cold-blooded cruelty. However, the police were not easily swayed. During a search of the victim's home, they discovered 2 loan agreements signed by Neha, totaling 11,000 yuan. This discovery immediately alerted the police that the case was far more complex than her initial statement suggested. Their swift investigation revealed that the relationship between Trang Nay Ha and Trang Con Loi was not as one-sided as she claimed. In reality, they had been intimately involved for 3 years. The root of their conflict lay in Nay Ha's inability to repay her debts. From early 2012, their arguments over money became increasingly frequent. Trang Con Loi demanded that Nay Ha either repay the loans on time with high interest or become his mistress. However, Trang Nay Ha felt no love for Trang Con Loi. She had merely used him for his money, never imagining he would prove to be even more cunning than herself. Con Loi's too oppressive demands forced her to seek a third path to escape. Recognizing Ho Hung Jung, a recently released ex-convict, as someone easily manipulated, Nay Ha decided to seduce him. With her beauty and honeyed words, she swayed Hung Jung into becoming a willing participant in her wicked scheme. When all was revealed, Ho Hung Jung confessed profound regret for being entangled in such a horrific crime. But it was far too late. The price was his freedom. He should have been wise enough to recognize from the outset that the woman before him was the embodiment of evil, cunning and deceitful. Yet, blinded by infatuation, he had unwittingly plunged his own future into an abyss. In August 2012, the Jinan City People's Court formally brought Ho Hung Jung and Trang Nay Ha to trial, charging them with organizing murder and intentional homicide. Faced with the heinous crimes they had committed, the judge delivered the highest possible sentence for both, death, without reprieve. Throughout this entire tragic narrative, Ho Hung Jung stands as a stark testament to the perils of blind love. He not only lost his reason but also delved deeper into a life of crime, ultimately sacrificing his very life. Blind love is a state where one loses the ability to discern right from wrong, to recognize what is good or bad. It is a destructive emotion, pushing individuals into an unhealthy dependence on their partner and the relationship, often to the point of forgetting their own self-worth. Love should never be accompanied by such blindness. We must remain clear-headed and rational in all situations to avoid irreparable mistakes, just like the foolish Ho Hung Jung. And so, this chilling case brings our story to a close for today. How do you feel about this particular case? Please share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's discuss it further. If you found this story compelling, please give us a like and subscribe to support our channel. Especially if this is your first visit, don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming videos. Thank you all so much for your time and for watching this video.